wants to hear all that toxic self. The bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. Ring the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. Ring the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. Ring the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Testing my audio. Testing. My boy Ka. What hub? Bienvenido, Rahul Bat, Maboika, Ituno, Kina Atiaono. And yes, Wepa Kenepa, what's up, Rahul Bat, Benita, saludos to you, saludos to everybody that's on here. And again, if you see the symbol here, excuse me, got a little froggy. If you see the symbol right here, the symbol love, you see the word love in here? Yes, because it's all about unconditional caring. Where they say love, I don't use the word love too much because it can mean many, many different things. So I've learned how to be a little careful now. But yeah, love, the symbol here is also hua, which means unconditional loving. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to put that up there. And yes, so we're going to discuss again a few things. Let me get on camera. Yes, all in blessings to you all. I'm chilling here at the house. I can't stay too long because my daughter got to take care of some errands and stuff. And so, I got my granddaughter. I got that responsibility. But I wanted to get on here to honor, you know what I'm saying, to continue on. Saludo, mi hermana, ¿cómo está? Bien. So I just wanted to get on here and honor the fact that, I wanted to keep going on to this, Genesis, and if you look at the other podcasts, this is a series episodes. And I'm also going to be doing classes, mystic classes. Already got a couple of people very interested, forming it, letting you know, what is the offering. It's not going to be much, what I'm saying? Because I like to share, knowledge and I really, but sometimes I have to, get books. And a shout out to my brother Hansu, Alex. He sent me a book there. I did receive the book. Great book. He seems to be leaning more towards that Moorish paradigm, and I'm learning a lot from him also. We share back and forth many different things, And so I want to tell him, and I tell everybody, check out, there's a book called, I think, Native American and the Star Seed Connection. We try to look for it. I'm trying to look for it. That's a great book because it really goes into what we're speaking about, the different worlds that we were speaking about, what I'm saying? How different civilization, empire civilization, rises, worlds rise and they fall, they rise. Now we're in the fifth world. And a lot of it is going to be, you see in the future, AI, the Internet of Things, the fourth industrial revolution, all those things, cities are becoming AI cities. Wherever you live, you see that you can easily get on the Wi-Fi, boom, and all those towers going up. They're converting a lot of city into AI cities and converting it into, that particular, era. that we in. You know what I'm saying? So we're seeing that little by little. We're seeing that evolve, revolving and stuff like that. And it's not to say that maybe in the past, in the other civilization, they were very technologically advanced, but something happened. I'll tell you the story about that because you can go into some comedic science with that, and you can go into some narratives, and it's very interesting the way it was broke down to us, in Sufi order, and the way it was broke down to us. But yeah, we'll go into that world. You know what I'm saying? And also you go around the world. I like Billy Carson when he travels and he shows certain things, and on his channel, and they show technological advanced things that are artifacts that are in the deserts, and they find it all around the world, and anomalies they don't know what it can explain, but they see clocks, they see huge clock formation. I mean, they see a lot of technology. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of people are going to say, hey, what's going on, little Matty? Oh, man, my brother. Peace to you. Yeah, so, you go around the world and you read up on these things. A lot of people say, oh, that's pseudo, that's pop, what they call pop archaeology, and so and so and so. But the fact that it's there, and the fact that somebody is mentioning it, the fact that somebody is writing about it, we got to look into that. We got to consider a lot of things. Look at my granddaughter going off. Oh, my God. So I'm going to try to do the best that I'm definitely going to do the best that I can here. So we were seeing from Genesis 1, and we've seen the template, and then we go into Genesis 2. Now you see that in Genesis 1, they say male and female was created. We created them in our likeness. They were male and female, Zakat and Akeba. We saw that, and we've seen that they also that the world, that the Elohim was hovering over a world in the face of the water that's supposed to be void, and so right. So, we looked into that. We considered that the fact that there was that other world that got destroyed, the deluge and all this. And then these Elohims, with the technology that they had to actually go to these areas and replenish it and reform it. We didn't get too much how now we're going to get into a little bit of how, the Adam and Eve story is. In other narratives and other schools of thought that you also need to consider. I'm going to drop it here, and so we'll go over it. And sometimes it seems a little difficult for people to really grasp it because we're so used to one narrative. You see, we're here in the Western Hemisphere. We're so used to this one narrative, but when you got people that travel, like in the 30s and 40s, that travel to the East and get that other narrative and bring it over, and then that spread that knowledge, and that became that knowledge that we know today, and the orders, the Sufi order, and also Sheikh Dawood, Ahmed and Malik, and also Pat Nabayananin, Malachi Ziyol, coming from that secession. You know what I'm saying? Coming from that school of thought. And also, when you look at the Marcus Garvey, you look at the Moorish Zionists, which birthed the One West, which birthed the Israelites. They had certain knowledge. They had certain important knowledge, and they had an order. They had a particular organization and a particular order because they were working a lot with Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was also Masonic. That we know, or Arturo Schomburg, because they understood that in this school, in Masonic schools, the libraries that they built, there was a lot of artifacts and documents that were in that school, and those institutions and those buildings that these Masonic had. There was a lot of information on there, so they had to find interested and find a way to retrieve a lot of this information so they can help organize and build their structure. You know what I'm saying? That's what Masons is, to help build their structure. But we're not going to go into that. You know what I'm saying? So first thing I want to do, I want to go back. Let me share my screen. And I'm using the blue letter because the blue letter gives me options of what to look for. The blue letter, I like it because it gives me those options. You know what I'm saying? To go into the Hebrew, go into the lexicon, gives me other perspective. It goes into the words and stuff like that. And I think that's very, very important. So let me full screen that and here. So we left the point where remember that I said that at first, prior to the Lord God, there was only the Elohims, the Elohims, the Elohims, God, God, God. Then when you get to Genesis 2 and 4, then you see the Lord God, which is the Jehovah, right? We show that Yahuwah, Jehovah, Yahweh, right? That comes into play, and they continue on and on and on. And then remember, in one, under our in our likeness, you know what I'm saying, in our image, we created them, male and female, Zakar and Nekeba. But then here in Genesis 2, you see that there was not a man to till the ground. You know what I'm saying? After the ground, right? There was no one to till the ground. So, again, looking at it, the template was created. The template was created in Genesis 1. Now things are starting to manifest on a physical form. And that's where you get the Yahuwah Elohim coming in, okay? And of course, not cause it to rain upon the earth. And so, and there in the midst, right? So let's continue on. But there went up in the midst of the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. Let's look at this really good in the Bible Concordance. When we talk about a mist, when it talks about a mist, ade, right? Mist, ade, meaning a spring, an overflow, right? Editu, overflow, ground, clouds are formed, so and so and so. When you look at that, so we're seeing a spring coming up, right? Oh my God, my granddaughter's driving me nuts. So we see a spring, a mist, a spring watering the whole face of the ground. Now, it's not saying the earth, it's saying the ground. Let's look it up. Why does it say the ground, right? That particular ground, is it Adama. Now, this could be taken many different ways, because it also be taken into, biology and stuff like that. The springs, the red veins and the blue veins of spring, Adama, and watering. You know what I'm saying? It could be taken like that. I've seen people do that. You know what I'm saying? Look at these scriptures in another, just to consider it in another narrative. But here we're just going to take it biblically, and so we say ground, the country, the lands, and the earth, right? We're going to do that instead. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to just go on, right? So now the Yahweh, Elohim, formed man of the dust of the ground. Now look at the dust. Let's look at the word dust. Now, interesting, when we look into form man of the dust, right? That phrase, afar, right? Afar, the powder, the rubbish, the ashes, the mortar, the dust. Well, rubbish, ashes, that means something was already there and became ashes, mortar, rubbish, that ground, debris, mortar, right? Loose earth, powder, ashes. You look, we got to really, really, really look at that. Consider that these words, that it can be used. So we don't know, is it being clay? It's not clay, the dust, those particles on the earth, those ashes, the mortar of you know what I'm saying, from ashes to ashes, you know what I'm saying? So we got to really look at a lot of this, you know what I'm saying? Clay in Leviticus, rubbish, fine dust, and so on, so on. So I'm going to, in a little bit, give you the narrative, you know what I'm saying, of that. Another thing to consider, another vein, another thing to consider. Okay, so we have, again, remember, he breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Maybe get nafash, right? That breath, that wind, that shu. That's what we say, shu, or that into a dead body, and became life, right? Man became a living soul. Also the breath, the character and personalities that could be, again, character and personalities. You could breathe somebody, and in the character and personality, what they do in the Catholic Church, when they breathe on you, or when they do that in the Masonic school, I can be without revealing that. Your breath, the sacred word is breath into you. That means your character, personality. Now you achieve, or you gain a different character, personality that you have to now grow with. You know what I'm saying? Same thing in the Catholic Church. They breathe into it with a baptism, the baby, a new breath of life, and given a new name, and so on, so on, so. So you see, there's a place of breath into the nostril, right? The breath of life. Now, and man became a living soul. So, where was I going with it? Yeah. So here we have also another narrative in biology. They're saying that the women, before she comes pregnant, the women, when she's pregnant, her nose kind of like she breathes. She can smell everything around her. Her nostrils open up. She could breathe everything. That's because she's taking in these particles. These particles are coming into her nostril and forming that dust part. Those particles, the acid-based particle, the newts, all that is forming the fetus. So we're we're particles, in the womb. Our bodies were particles that are throughout. Again, viruses and bacteria that there's more on the air than there is on the ground. We're breathing. The woman is breathing that, right? And then man is becoming a soul, a living soul. You know what I'm saying? Within, so you can look at it like that also. That's another narrative, something to consider. You know what I'm saying? When people look at a lot of these scriptural quotes, you know what I'm saying? But with the English language, we understand that they use a lot of words, and it can be overwhelming sometimes, but don't overwhelm yourself. A lot of times, understanding the literal from the allegorical, and the metaphors and the similes and stuff like that, that just takes another skill. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to share things with you. I want you to consider it. If you want, you can research it and check it out, or just for edutainment purposes. I say edutainment purposes. So here we left that at the on the other podcast, right? We left there, right? I'm not going to go really in depth into a lot of these things because I'm going to save it for the class that I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the narrative. It's what is the conclusion, or how did you arrive at the reasoning, or when you read the scriptures, how do you arrive at those particular statements and those concepts and ideas? And that's what I'm going to do in my class, is show you step by step, sources, step by step, how it was taught to me, and also of the research that I've done, that I was able to expand that which was taught to me, which you'll be able to do the same, expand more and more and more. You know what I'm saying? It's just we're at that era. We're at the era right now. We're at the revelations, right? Okay. So this is the part that I want to go into. And it says, out of the ground made the Yahuwah, right? Out of the ground, the Yahuwah Elohims, one of the Elohims, Yahuwah, to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight. It's good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden. We call the tree of life in the midst. Again, that spring in that garden, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I skipped. And the Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden. Now he planted a garden eastward in Eden. So we got to look at what is Eden. You know what I'm saying? And for the class, I'm going to go really in depth into that, because we're going to use geographical oceanography and some of those mining books that talks about the plate continent, the plate continental shifting and things like that, and the forming of what we call Pangaea, Ganawa, and Ronidia. Are three of the different forms of the continent that was formed. And we're going to go into that so we can become knowledgeable in that. And that's geographical oceanography. That's what they study when they study mining, and they go into the crust and they study how the plates move and stuff like that. That's an applied science. We're going to drop that in there. So again, planted a garden. He planted a garden. That means, he must have had, the science, the capability of planting this garden, right? Horticulture, eastward of Eden. And if you look at the word Eden, here's a clue. I'll drop it now. When you look at Eden, we see the word Eden, right? Eden, no, okay. Eden, okay. Hebrew, Eden, going on. A pleasant country in Asia. They're saying that it's in Asia, site which is described, in which was a garden was the first created human beings were placed. were placed. So they were created somewhere else and placed there. Remember, they were created, they were made somewhere else, and they migrated or they came there. So the Garden of Eden, on and on and on. Okay, so there's something I was looking for. The garden. Hold on a second. Let's look at the word garden. Garden is Gan. You say, so there was an area known as Gan, and anybody knows about oceanography, so Gan, Ganawa. There was a garden place of named Gan in Ganawa. You know what I'm saying? There was a garden that was placed there. You're saying that's an enclosed garden. It's enclosed. It's an enclosure. It's a fence around this garden. A fence. You know what I'm saying? You read on and on and on. Okay. And we're gonna go into the other biblical quotes and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to. This is just an introduction. I'm trying to. I don't want to go too far, too deep into it. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, have a blessed. Yes. Barakat. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh Allah. You know, the blessings of Allah to you, my brother Zayd. Yes. And so, you know, this garden, right, was placed. So you have many. It's telling you already that the trees that were planted there, you know, were good for food. Many different trees with food, and today we see that you have this tree of life. We got to figure out what is this tree of life. Remember, the allegory, the metaphor, and the literal seems to be meshed in this biblical narrative, but that's called script writing. Sometimes you get to do that in script writing. You know, script writing, you have the emotional story, you have the action story, you know, so you have the dialogue story, you know what I'm saying? So you got to understand that when you deal with script and script writing, you know what I'm saying, scripture, you know, that how allegory, metaphors could be meshed in with some things that are literal, so it can confuse you. But if you know how to distinguish and know how to, you got to distinguish. You have to extract that which is beneficial for you and that which enhances your mind of reasoning, right? Your way of reasoning, your thought pattern, whatever. And you know, some people have beliefs, you know, but this is about knowing what is these things saying. You know what I'm saying? As to again to uplift or to filter out all those different, you know, narratives that doesn't do anything for us, keep us enslaved and conquered. You know what I'm saying? So we want to uplift that, right? The tree in the midst. So the life was in the midst of the garden, which is the mist again, where the rivers were flowing, or the streams, right? And the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now I spoke about this before, and we're going to go into depth into the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Two different opposite poles, right? The good, the evil. Or when you took evil and you flip it, you got what? You got live, the living, and the evil, that which hinder life or living, right? The opposite thing. Okay, don't flip go a good around because you're gonna get dog. Interesting, but yeah, it's like you flip one word, but you don't flip the other. No, I can flip the other word too, but good, you know. Dogs are good, can be good. You know what I'm saying? A dog would listen to you, and you train them the right way. It could be a good thing. As I said, man's best friend is a good thing, right? That's just no pun intended. Yeah, that's just. So now the river went out of Eden again. Right? This river that went out of Eden. Now, the Garden of Gan was inside of Eden to water the garden. So now we got some rivers. So now it's going to give us the locations, right? Became into four heads. We came to four separate rivers. The name of the first one is Pisan. It is which compares the whole land of Havilah. And then there is gold, where there is gold. We're going to go over that. I'm going to pull up the map. Havilah, right? If you look at the tools, you know what I'm saying? And let's see what the Bible concordance says about Pishon. Pishon, okay, one of the four rivers described in Genesis. It is a river flowing from the Garden of Eden around the land of Havilah, which they claim is India. For example, India. You know, but let's consider that. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But we know that Havilah also been named somewhere in Africa. But then you got India. You know what I'm saying? Where there is gold, but also Havila in Kush, there's gold. You got the gold and the gold in the land is good. So they had to distinguish bad gold or good gold. So there's bdellium, and there is also the oxen stone here in that spot. The name of the second was Gizon. It encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. When you look at Ethiopia, the Isan, okay, we're looking at it, okay. Now they say this near Jerusalem, Sorrow took place. Of course they're gonna say different things, but we really gotta break it down. Largest river, the Ganges River, bursting forth from the fountains. Well, they're gonna say a lot of things, but we're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at it. What other narratives? We're gonna consider. Oh, sorry. We're gonna consider other things. Okay. So, okay. So then you have Ethiopia. You have the Hiddekel, the third river, which go forth from Assyria. The fourth river is Euphrates. So you got the Hiddekel, also known as the Tigris, Euphrates, right? And so the Yahuwah took man and put him in. He put him in that garden. He didn't make him there. He put him in that garden so he can dress it and keep it. Now, here we go. Here we go. So you see that? Okay. We got some location here. Let's pull up the map. Let's put up the map. Let me 1 second. Let's put up the map. Now, this is not including the oceanography map. You know what I'm saying? This is just a map of so we're seeing Ethiopia, Hiddekel, India, and we're seeing this whole. So we're seeing this whole area right here, right? This whole area right here. 4 rivers flew out of this area here. In this area, you have the blue and the white Nile, right? And form one, right? That goes all the way in, right? Then right here, you got some river, the Tigris, Euphrates rivers right around here. I wish I can, no. Well, you have to fight. It's Tigris river right around there, India. Well, shit, what's going on here? Okay, so all right, this whole area. Now, when we study oceanography, geographical oceanography, we're looking at before the Platonic shifting of these continents. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh no, how can it shift?" Listen. This is applied sciences. These are engineers, and they are going in and doing the work, and they're seeing it. And there's a lot of clues. There's a lot of this is science. Okay, so when you look at oceanography, this part, all this here, when you deal with Ganawa, was all connected. If you imagine it shifting over, so India was right here at the coast of what they call Somalia and Ethiopia. If you look at a lot of Somalians in Ethiopia, they almost have like an Indian type of phenotype, right? And Indonesian, don't they? You know what I'm saying? In Africa, you know what I'm saying? That's to be considered because all this is shifted over. So this whole area here, the horns, all this whole area here, all this is shifted over. So you got a big spot, a big mass of land right here when you deal with Ganawa, Pangaea or Ganawa, especially Ganawa, this whole area here. So we're looking at something that they're narrating that is millions of years back, millions of years. You know what I'm saying? So then you got to say to yourself, so then when these 64,000 years, and they were placed in this, well, you got to look at it like, yeah, 64,000 years. I think that might have been so much the tectonic might not shift so much, but thousands of years, yeah, it would shift. It would be different. We're seeing these shifts happening now in America. You know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, we're seeing it all around the world. They're just not telling us. The reason why certain spots are becoming less and less people moving out, migrating out, and animals are migrating out of these areas. It's still shifting to some extent. So things are going to change in the future. So it takes thousand years. So we're looking at a whole area. It might have not been all really connected, but if you look at it, it almost fit like a puzzle in there. If you really look at it, forget about this Red Sea. All this didn't exist. It was one land mass here, one land mass. You could have had a river, or could have had what they call lakes over here on this side. Same with India. And when you look at it, and you look at the phenotype, you look at it's not too far fetching at all. Not too far fetching at all. You know. So you're looking at this garden. Sorry. Oh Jesus, let me drop my. Let me put this better over here. So we're looking at a garden that is placed here in this area. Eastwood will be, so if you go here, Eastwood, this garden gonna be placed right here. If you look at it, we're talking about what? This area right here, known when you shift it around, you're talking Pakistan, Afghanistan, you're talking Iraq, we're talking Euphrates and the fight, you're talking Turkey at this time, so you're talking this whole area right here. Again, remember that, it's just to consider this, it's not just consider. I don't know. I didn't live at that time. I don't know. It's not that I don't know, but I'm investigating. So I'm knowing certain things when you deal also with oceanography, geographical oceanography, you deal with platonic, and then you read the biblical sources, you say, wow, this is stuff that was known back then. They could have, time out of time sequence. You know what I'm saying? So this biblical story in Genesis could be a different time sequence, all meshed into one. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm saying, well, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? And you can do that in script writing. You can do that when you write a script. You could take different time sequence, things that happen to your character in different times, and put it into a story and give it a location and give it a particular time sequence. It's possible. Those are possibilities. That's what I'm saying. We can't take it off of face value. You know what I'm saying? We just got to investigate. We got to look at it and say, wow. I mean, the way we can see it in the way it can make sense. And you say, but then how do mystics know this? And how do you study this? And now body science, how do you study? Well, again, sciences. Again, it deals a lot with science, and it deals with oral traditions, and it deals a lot with sciences, and it deals a lot with again, the unseen things that are we can't see these things. We didn't experience it. We don't know. It's unseen, right? So to bring it to the scene, we got to use our imagination. Same thing they did with the biblical narrative. They used their imagination. They put a time sequence of things that they did not experience, because I'm sure the Council of Nicaea did not experience the Garden of Eden. Who's writing about this garden? Whose experiences? Moses wrote the first 5 books. He didn't experience it. Moses came later on. You know what I'm saying? He didn't experience it. If it's oral tradition, then we got it from Abraham on and on, from Adam. Adam didn't even experience some of this stuff because he was placed there later on. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's taking that which is unseen, right? And through imagination and putting, and writing the script, putting your imagination together, saying, wow, it's considered this. It's a grave possibility. It makes sense to me that these landmass was at a different arrangement, and the garden of what they call the Eden, and this garden in the land of Eden was in this particular area. And then the clues is the word Adam, the Adamic people, the rooty people, the red people, right? Redness, not melanated people, black people, melanated people coming from the interior of the landmass known as Africa today. But we're going to talk about that, and we're talking about how that was a determining factor, and that was we're going to speak about that. You know what I'm saying? So this is again, the map and stuff like that. So I'm gonna really leave it there, to be honest with you, because I want you to consider that. You got Assyria, you got Euphrates, Tigris, Euphrates. We could look that up on the next one, and to really home in on that. I am going to just give you a little something here. And this is the creation story in the Quran. Now, this is an extraction, right? An extraction, because there are many different creative stories. You got creation story in Kemet, you got creation story in Christianity and all that. This one here is the creation story, and I'll pull it up. This is an extraction, but we can go into a lot of what you call. We can go a lot into these narratives, you know what I'm saying? But because it gives you, Surah 45, 35, and on and on. So the descriptions of the creation in the Quran, right, are not intended as a dry historical account, okay? But rather to engage the reader in contemplating the lessons to be learned from it. Okay, the act of creation, therefore, is frequently described as a way of drawing the reader into thinking about the order of things and the all-knowing creator who is behind it all. The order of things. They said this particular order of things. Okay, the Quran is the last testament. It put order to a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? And we have to consider that. We have to consider that. We can't be so caught up in one way and so conflicted and against another people when you have to look at knowledge, like knowledge worldwide, you know what I'm saying, and put these pieces together, okay? Because we're all experiencing the same earth, humanity, right? We're all experiencing it. We gotta look at. So, it's for example, verily in the heavens and the earth are signs for those who believe. When you look into the heavens, you look into the stars, you look into the earth, you deal with geographical oceanography. There are signs for those who believe, but there are those that know. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to always say that. In the creation of yourself, the fact that animals are scattered throughout the earth are signs of those of unsured faith. And in the alternation of night and day, and that fact that Allah sends down substance from the sky, and rivers throughout the earth after its death, and in the change of the wind are signs of those who are wise. So again, it's telling you to consider in the surah in 45 to consider these things, the alternating, day becoming night, that and stuff like that. Then you got the big bang, right? The Quran said that the heaven and earth were joined together as one unit. You know what I'm saying? Allah, and then clove them asunder. Okay, it turned to the sky, and it has been as smoke, and said and he said to it, and in the earth, come together willingly, unwillingly. They said, we come together in willing obedience. Again, this is pantheism. This comes from pantheism, okay? It's taking natural nature and giving it some type of, again, human ideas and concepts. You know what I'm saying? Pantheism, going back, because we went from nature science, right, what we call the noon science, down to pantheism, to what we call religion. Bound from religion, we're going back into pantheism. And then from pantheism, okay, we're from pantheism, you should extract things to get you back into the noon science, which is natural nature, which we're doing here. Thus, the element, what was to become the everything in the heaven, has started in form that is of smoke. Now we have to look up the word smoke, or what they call mist, smoke, gases. Gases has to form into shape. Okay, they're using words again like smoke, but you're talking about gases and stuff. Hold on one second. Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave it there. But anyway, when you go on, this is the Big Bang. This is how they say the Quran describes the Big Bang and stuff like that. I really don't subscribe to this too much, because I think there's much more. I can go into the Quran and pull out a lot more. Okay, the creation of Adam and Eve. We created man from sounding clay, from mud molded into shape. Again, it's a reiterating and going over that biblical narrative of creating from clay or from the dust of the ground. But we're gonna go deep into that. You know what I'm saying? Again, just like the scriptures, the Quran also became another script that had taken the Old Testament, the New Testament, and taken a lot of other tablets, and it infuses it, and it created this whole new narratives and script, which is, to me, I love it, because you find a lot in it. You know what I'm saying? And to my Muslim brothers and sisters, yeah, it's about expanding. You know what I'm saying? Some people, just like Christians, sometimes they get so contracted, go into themselves, and don't want to venture out, because they feel like, oh no, that's deception, or no, that's love. They don't want to venture out because they've been taught like that. They've been programmed not to expand and venture out. You know what I'm saying? And I just like to expand and venture out. That's just the way I am. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there's a lot here like that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, folks. With that, all in blessings to you. I got to get to some family business here, family laboring here. And with all that being said, I bid you a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Peace.